A very warm welcome to all the students for this new semester. Today we are going to discuss about the most important subject in engineering. Okay, the subject who is actually deep rooted in every other technology or every other subject that you study in your engineering. This subject, without this subject, you are paralyzed. So the subject is artificial intelligence. So here is an introduction to artificial intelligence as part of the first lecture. Let us begin. Before we start knowing what is artificial intelligence, let us understand what is human intelligence. How do we humans say that we are intelligent? Okay. First, we have something called as perception. Okay, as a matter of fact, when we perceive, we not only perceive one thing but parallelly occurring so many things which are happening, all that we perceive and we understand. For example, just consider a scenario that you are driving a car. Okay, while driving a car, you as a driver, you perceive so many other things. You have to perceive signals, at the same time you have to perceive other drivers. Okay, you have to you have to drive safely, so you have to also see the pedestrians, you have to also see the signboards, you have to also see many other conditions. Suppose you are destined to a particular place, then you should also see the around geography around and so many other things, right? So in humans, when we perceive, we don't just perceive one thing but we perceive so many things parallelly. Okay, so that is a very important quality of intelligence. Okay, now just perceiving and ignoring is not it does not mean that you exhibit intelligence. Okay, understanding of language is the second quality that we have which makes us intelligence. Okay, now let us consider English language. English language, it is spoken with so many different accents, right? When we watch an English movie, okay, we do understand the language, at the same time we also understand the accent. Okay, and there are some people who can't understand the accent, they have to see it or they have to get used to that accent, and slowly they understand. So that's a learning that is happening inside. Okay, so understanding of a language is another quality. Feeling, right? Just perceiving or just understanding of language is not the only quality required. Feeling, you should be able to feel, you should be able to feel what is right, what is wrong. Okay, so these are feelings, and we do have the feelings of joy, we have anger, we have happiness, and we have so many other feelings, right? So that is also another quality of being intelligent. Reasoning, it's a very essential, in fact it is the most essential quality. Okay, intelligence it requires, right? Reasoning. And when you say reasoning, you have to consider the past experiences, you have to consider the future implications of taking an action, repercussions of taking the action. So that is your reasoning. And learning, you can definitely make mistakes, okay, but making mistakes is okay, but learning from the mistake and then not letting this mistake happen again, that is intelligence, right? So in human beings, reasoning and learning, these are the most important or most crucial activities when we talk about intelligence. Now when we say learning, we not only learn, if required we unlearn and then we relearn. Okay, so all these qualities when considered together exhibits intelligence in humans. Okay, now when we consider machines like computers or robots, okay, are they intelligent? No, it is you who will be inducing intelligence in these machines. So you will have to inculcate all these qualities into the machine, okay, and maybe much more into the machine to make it intelligent, right? Common sense reasoning is there in humans, but to induce this in a machine, it's a very complicated task. Okay, so let's go and see what is machine intelligence or what is artificial intelligence then. Okay, it is, in simple words, artificial intelligence is a science of making a machine intelligent. Okay, With AI, a machine can accomplish tasks that can normally require human intelligence. Now, one thing that I would like to tell you, that although people started seriously working in artificial intelligence somewhere from 1940s onwards, today it is 2021, okay, and it is really shocking to know that till today there is no one complete definition of AI that we have got. And that is because to define AI there are different school of thoughts, okay. Some people, some thinkers, they say the machine is intelligent if they can think like humans. Some say machine is intelligent if it can act like humans. Now when we say thinking like humans or acting like humans, okay, humans are themselves imperfect, so there could not be a rationality. Sometimes they behave in an irrational manner. Of course they will learn and try to do better. Third school of thought say a machine exhibits intelligence if it can think rationally, okay. And the fourth school of thought says the machine is considered to be intelligent if it can act rationally. We are going to see in the later part of this what are these school of thoughts. Let's proceed. Now, when is the time when the AI, the idea of AI struck to humankind? So the idea of AI, it roots back into the ancient mythological tales of some older civilizations. Okay, Greek civilization, Roman civilizations, Egyptian civilization. Why go so far? Even the Indian civilization. You must have heard the word called as Pushpak Viman. Okay, in our epics like Mahabharata, Ramayana. Okay, these were actually the machines. Okay, you must have heard about so many other. We used to call them as Divyastras. Okay, Astras. Okay, we have heard about Brahmastra, which is nothing but it's a kind of a missile which when sent it goes and hits the target and not any other place. So these there is a question whether those things really existed 7,000 or 3,500 years ago. But one thing is very clear, since all these things were written down into the epic, maybe if they didn't exist, yet one thing is very obvious, that the people of those times, they had this foresight, or they had this thinking ability, okay, of designing something, some intelligent machine, or designing some intelligent tool. Okay, coming back, obviously these ancient humans, okay, they desired and had an ability to conceptualize AI. We can at least say this, even if we say that mythology may not be a true thing what has happened in history. Okay, just for an example, this is a sentence taken from a Greek mythological book which was written down in 3000 before Christ era, 300 before Christ era. Telos was a giant constructed of bronze who acted as a guardian for the island of Crete. Okay, so giant constructed of bronze, it's something like, conceptualization of today's robot. Okay, so at least those people, the ancient humans, they had an idea, or they had a desire to come up with the intelligent machines. Now let's come to the current scenario. The first modern computers were the massive code breaking machines of the Second World War. You must have heard, or even you can search in Google, a very famous machine called as Colossus or ENIAC. These were the machines they were used in Second World War. Okay, these machines were based on the theoretical foundation laid by Alan Turing, a mathematician, and later developed by John von Neumann. You must have heard about von Neumann architecture of computer. Now let's come back to school of thought of defining AI. Why is it that the definition of AI is so far not complete? Okay, because there is a conflict between the thinkers and the scientists and the data analysts, or whatever you call mathematicians. Why I say all this? Because AI is actually multidisciplinary field. Okay, people are yet still confused whether AI comes actually in science or arts or what else, right? So let's quickly go to the school of thought of defining AI. Okay, so in the first school of thought, okay, people say, the scholars say that a machine is intelligent if it can think like human. Okay, now thinking like humans, okay, there is one problem. Humans sometimes may think in an illogical manner in some situations, right? So a machine also should be able to think like human. That means at times machine can also make mistakes. This is that definition which says it, right? Now to think like human, you require a strong neural network like that is present in humans. Okay, so a science behind this particular neural network, that's called as cognitive science, okay, is being explored in this particular area. Okay, and whenever we say thinking like human, we have to do the analysis at neuron level, neuro at anatomical level, and the mind level. Okay, so there are some set of scholars which say that artificial intelligence means a machine if it can think like human. Now the second school of thought says artificial intelligence means a machine should be always thinking not like humans but rationally, and rational means always correct. Okay, so systems that can think rationally, that means always system is going to take the correct decision. But there are situations, there is also a problem with this definition. Why? Because there are situations wherein it is very difficult to know what is rational. Okay, for a matter of fact, let us take an example. Okay, there is an auto car driver which is a robot. Okay, and it is driving at a particular speed on a expressway. And when you talk about expressway, okay, you know that the traffic is so fast that in between, suppose there is a sudden halt made by a particular car, or the other cars behind will just simply dash into each other, and there will be a big chaos, an accident. Okay, now consider a situation. Okay, we are considering what can happen if the machine always thinks rationally, or is it possible for the machine to always think rationally? Okay, so let's say that automatic car driver, okay, is driving the car, a robot is driving the car, and the car is driving on a expressway where there is a heavy traffic. Okay, and suddenly there is one puppy which comes on the way. Right now there are some rules that are written into the knowledge base of this particular automatic car driver robot. One rule, it says that while driving you have to drive safe. That means you should save life, may it be human life, may it be animal life. Okay, so that is one rule that is coded. And second, there is also thinking that if you halt, if you suddenly halt, or if you suddenly brake on an expressway, what is going to happen? The other cars which are behind you, they are going to dash into each other. There will be a big chaos, accident, and maybe in this particular thing, there may be so many human life that will be lost. Okay, so now the robot has to think rationally. Now, how will it think rationally? Will it save one, puppy's life, or will it save, the human life? Okay, how the machine will make decision. Okay, so this is one condition that I told you, where machine, if we are saying that machine always should think rationally, what machine will consider, what will be most rational? For an animal activist, it will be always priority to save the puppy, because it's an animal. But then as a humanitarian, you should also consider the lives of so many people which will be lost in this particular act. Okay, so similarly there are many other examples wherein always thinking rationally could be a question mark. Okay, so this also definition has, it's not complete, it has some flaws like the first definition. Then third school of thought, it says machine can be said as intelligent if it can act like human. Now thinking like human and acting like human, they are two different things. Okay, now when I say acting like humans, okay, Alan Turing, it came up with something called as Turing test. Okay, Alan Turing came up with something called as Turing test that we're going to see after some time. Okay, to act like human, one thing is very important, you should understand the language. Okay, basically this school of thought okay, is more adapted in the situations where you are playing games, AI controlled games. Okay, why? Because if you have designed a game such that the computer plays against a human being, and if computer starts thinking rationally, always right, then you as a human being will never win the game. Because if this particular school of thought, if with this definition of AI, okay, if you are going to design a game, then that machine is always going to think rationally, and thinking rationally means always it is going to do the take the best move, and it will always win, and you are always going to lose as an opponent player in the game. So for gaming, okay, this school of thought is more suitable, wherein system can act like human beings. Sometimes humans also act in a wrong way. You can make a wrong move in chess, okay, which is acceptable, thereby giving the human opponent a chance of winning. Otherwise the human opponent will just get fed up, will say that always computer is winning, I am not going to play the game, right? So each of this definition, as you can see, they have some flaws, not flaws, they have some shortcomings. And let's go to the fourth school of thought in AI: systems that can act rationally, acting rationally. Here also, acting rationally means always doing the right thing. Okay, so if you always do the right thing, you will maximize the goal achievement of given information. Okay, and this does not necessarily involve thinking, it involves solving, problem solving. Okay, here also there are flaws. So after seeing four schools of thought that are prevalent in this world, let us finally see, in short, what is AI. Okay, AI in general, it is a study of how to make computers do things which at the moment people do better. A simple, and I will not claim that this is a complete definition, but this is a definition that we can use to design AI machines. Okay, so it is basically study of how to make computers do things which at the moment people do better. Okay, now this definition also fails to include the areas where some problems can't be solved by humans as well as computers. We have already seen in the last semester. Okay, there are some problems which cannot be solved by humans as well as computers. Okay, and such problems are not solvable. Your Turing machine is not able to solve the problem, right? So there are some category of problems. So this definition which I have given you, it fails to include such areas, such problems. Now coming back to AI problems, task domains. Okay, what are the different task domains in AI? Which means now that people are working in so many areas in AI, what are, in broad way, in broad sense, what are the different tasks in AI? Okay, so the very first kind of task is called as mundane task. Mundane task is a day-to-day task. These are the tasks, what we say, these are the day-to-day tasks. These tasks, according to us humans, does not require intelligence. For example, even cattle, okay, when they are grazing, they are sent for grazing in the forest or maybe in the fields. In the evening, they come back to the owner. Okay, now cattle may not be considered as intelligent, but it knows how to come back. It knows what is its daily route. That is basically the mundane task of perception and thinking. Okay, you must have heard that bats, they have a better perception than the humans, and so on. Okay, so one of the most important tasks which is coming under mundane task is perception. Perception may be vision or speech. Okay, even speaking is a perception. Okay, now if you are exposed to an environment, understanding what other person is speaking is also perception. You are perceiving it. Perception always may not be only capturing the image of the environment. Many a times capturing the voice or what others speak, that is also perception. So perception is one of the foremost mundane tasks. Okay, second is natural language understanding, generation and translation. What is natural language? The language, those are spoken in this world by humans, they are all natural languages. So understanding these kind of natural languages, generating the natural languages. That means robot, after understanding somebody's language, robot is now framing a sentence to answer, give answer. So that's called the natural language generation. And also translation. Okay, translating a language from translating a sentence from one language to another. So all these are mundane tasks. Okay, then most important is the common sense reasoning. I just told you that cattle, or for that matter even dogs and cats, they have this common sense reasoning well, even though you say that they are less intelligent. Similarly, we as human beings, okay, we also have this common sense reasoning. Okay, maybe we have something for example, when a small child is born, or when the infant is born, just come to the world. Okay, who teaches the infant to take the breath? Okay, who teaches the infant to cry when it is hungry? So these are all instincts, basic instincts. Okay, you can say it's a part of your common sense reasoning which is inbuilt to you, right? Robot control, moving the arms, moving the actuators of the robot moving. Okay, then robot, if there are any obstacles on the way, obstacles are avoided by the robot. Okay, movement of the robot, all this comes under mundane tasks. Okay, so there are set of areas wherein perception, NLP or natural language processing, common sense reasoning and robot control as being considered or carried out. They are all mundane tasks. These tasks seems easy for humans, obviously, right? If I as a human, if I want to do any of this activity of say moving around, moving my arm, limbs and so on, or doing common sense reasoning or speaking or seeing, it does not require intelligence for human beings. But okay, it was found that these mundane tasks are extremely difficult to be inculcated in the machines. It's very difficult. Perceptions, why they are difficult for machines? Okay, one, perception, it involves analog signals. Now for a machine like robot, okay, how it will perceive the environment? It will be perceiving environment through sensors, which are cameras. And what will be the input taken by these cameras? It will be the images. And whenever we talk about images, or for that matter, even if voice, okay, I am listening to the voice, okay, so there will be sensor to listen or to take the signals from the environment. So perceptive tasks are difficult because these involve analog signals, and analog signals are many a times, or 99% of times, found noisy. Similarly, when you capture any image, okay, the quality of the image depends on the quality of the camera. Okay, so that is also important. There may be some noise even in the image. So these are the things. Noise is one of the most important factor why perception task is difficult. Large number of things has to be perceived at once, which is difficult. I just told you, if there is if you are driving the car and you are going along say a market area, you are perceiving so many other things, right, at parallelly, and processing each of these parallelly and understanding what is happening and taking action accordingly. You may be perceiving traffic signals. You may be also at the same time perceiving the roadside different signs. Okay, you will be also perceiving whether any how the traffic is moving. Okay, your concentration will be also on your driving. Okay, different things like, okay, when to apply brake, okay, to avoid any accident and so on. Also at the same time, your attention will be on your destination, where I want to reach, which road should I take. Okay, and you also do the decision making. Okay, if this side road is the traffic is heavy, which other road I can take, and so many things you are processing. Okay, this is a part of processing. But when I say perception, you are perceiving so many things parallelly. Okay, now you as human beings, it is just inbuilt talent, or it is just obvious to us, default to us. But when it is machine, inculcating these kind of perceptive ability to the machine, okay, making the machine able to see or perceive many number of things at once at the same time is a very difficult task. Now, coming back to NLP, natural language processing, why it is challenging? Okay, one thing is that to understand sentences in the language, in any language, machine should not only know about the language, but it should also, have great deal of knowledge about the topic that is being discussed. Okay, for example, when there is a discussion going on say Second World War, it is not only important for the machine to understand what the people are speaking, but if you want to understand what is being spoken, okay, if you want to relate to it, then the machine should also have a huge knowledge base about what happened in the Second World War and what actually was what was happening in Second World War, right? So to understand a sentence, it is not only important to understand the syntax or the grammar of the sentence, but at the same time you should also know about the topic that is being discussed. Okay, this is very challenging task for the machines. Also, remember that even animals possessing less intelligence, they exhibit finest perceptive capabilities, right? For example, chameleon, if you have seen, okay, you know that it changes colors. It sees the threat and accordingly it changes the color according to its surrounding, and so on. There are so many other examples in the nature wherein you see that these capabilities, perceptive capabilities or mundane task capabilities, are very fine in these animals whom we call dumb, right? But when we are going to mimic this behavior in the machine, mundane task behavior in the machine, it is found to be extremely difficult, right? Second kind of tasks domain in AI is formal task, right? What are the formal tasks? Basically, game playing and problem solving. They are the main formal tasks, right? People who perform these tasks very well are considered to be displaying intelligence. For example, we say that if there is a person who is mastermind in playing chess, we say that he is intelligent, like Gary Kasparov or our own Vishwanathan Anand. We say that they are very intelligent because they play game like chess very well and they have won so many times, right? Similarly, problem solvers, for example, the mathematicians, consider Alan Turing, consider Albert Einstein, consider so many other mathematicians, right? So they are very good at problem solving, so we say they are also intelligent. So basically, in human language, what is the meaning of intelligence? Those who can play a game in a very sharp way, or those who can solve problem in a very sharp way, always getting success, they are supposed to be displaying intelligence. Okay, it appeared initially that computer could perform well at this task by being fast at exploring a large number of solution paths and selecting the best one using the graph traversal techniques. Okay, so initially it appeared that computer could easily perform the task of game playing and problem solving, because whenever we deal with game playing, we will see this later, but I'll just tell you, give you an introduction. Whenever game is being played by computer actually has a plan what to do after the user plays so and so, or after the user makes so and so move, what to do next. So basically all this is stored in the computer's memory like a tree, like a graph. So from every state, okay, there are so many possibilities that the human player can choose, and accordingly computer can then decide what is the next move. So basically, initially it was thought that computer can easily defeat humans in games, or computers can easily solve problems, because for computers it is basically traversing a big huge graph using so many graph traversal techniques and so on. Okay, however, it was found that no computer is fast enough to overcome something called as combinatorial explosion. Combinatorial explosion is something wherein as the graph traversal goes depth by depth, it goes one level below. Okay, so depth level 1, depth level 2, depth level 3. Okay, what happens is, because of the power of combinations, the number of nodes which are to be traversed in every level okay, the number of nodes, it starts increasing in an exponential fashion, and so much that you reach a particular stage wherein the computer's memory is not enough to store all these nodes, right? So that is called as combinatorial explosion. At this, since this is the beginning, the first lecture, at this moment you may not understand what I am talking about regarding combinatorial explosion or how game is being played using graphs and all. This I'll be covering in the next chapter. Okay. Right now you just understand that formal task execution, initially people thought that it will be easy for the computers, but later on this turned out to be at times difficult, okay, not difficult but at times slower due to effect of combinatorial explosion. More things we will see in the next chapter where I'll be actually focusing on formal tasks. Okay. Examples of some AI programs developed for the formal task are: 1. Checkers playing program that was designed by Samuel. Now this Chinese checkers program, it used experience to improve its later performance. So it played against a human player multiple number of times, and at times it also lost. But then it used this experience. How it got lost? What was the mistake? It used this experience to improve its performance later. So learning was happening in this checkers program. Okay. Then the second problem solving software that was designed was Logic Theorist. This software, it proved mathematical theorems from the first chapter of Whitehead and Russell's Principia Mathematica textbook. Okay. Third example of AI program was Galanter's theorem. This was a geometrical theorem proving application. Okay. Now third kind of AI tasks are called as expert tasks, and believe me, today's world people are more focused on designing something like mundane task and expert tasks. Okay. Of course, game playing is also taking its path. Okay, but expert task is very important, or it's a very challenging domain along with the mundane task in the today's race. What are expert tasks? Many people can perform some specialized tasks in which carefully acquired expertise is necessary. For example, you may have learned carpentry in the first year, but when you are supposed to make furniture at your home, you will call the expert, that is carpenter. Okay. Similarly, you may have read so many things about the healthcare, but when you have some ailment, you will not treat yourself, but you will go to a doctor. When your car breaks down, you may have read about different parts of the car and so on, but when it breaks down, you require a mechanic or an engineer. Okay, so these are the experts in the area. Why? Because these people, okay, they have carefully acquired the expertise, okay, by performing some specialized tasks. Okay. Example of such expert tasks are in engineering, in the industry, designing, fault finding, planning, manufacturing. These are the expert tasks. You must be knowing that now in the industry there is a automation that is happening. So in the assembly line where the products are manufactured, no longer there are human employees who are there. Everything is happening with the robotic arms, and there is a assembly line that is all automated. Okay, so the entire product is being packaged, and finally the final output comes into human hand. So that is these kind of tasks, they are called as expert tasks. Similarly, designing, you must be knowing that now for designing new shapes for the cars and all, there are some car manufacturers who are taking the help of automation. Also for fault finding in the hardware, or even in planning and so many other areas. So engineering is one of the core areas where expert tasks are required. Okay. Then scientific analysis, especially in NIOs and all, okay, when they are exploring the seas, oceans, okay, there are certain analysis that can be carried out using automation, which does not require human intervention, which does not require human efforts. So scientific analysis is another area where expert tasks are carried out. Medical diagnosis. Nowadays, in the medical field there are machines which are able to detect so many, or they are able to diagnose so many diseases and the things like that, which are expert systems, like your like your MRIs, or CT scans and so many other things. Financial analysis. Okay, nowadays if you want to invest in mutual funds, okay, there is an interface which is provided. You may not be knowing about shares, you might not be keeping any updates about the share market, but then there are stock index predictors which are available in the interface that you are using. This stock index predictors will tell you which shares you can buy, which shares will give you profit, which one will go into the loss, and so on. So financial analysis here also, where is expert tasks are being used in AI. Similarly, if you are knowing about systematic investment plan or SIP, there also nowadays a person can just have a login account, and then he can be directed by AI technology, he can be directed to take the necessary action. Okay, so this is financial analysis. AI is most flourishing in this problem area in the expert system. Now, what is AI technique? AI technique is basically a method that exploits knowledge. Okay. Now, this knowledge should be represented in a way that knowledge could capture generalizations. That means it is not necessary to represent each individual situation separately. So knowledge should be captured in such a way that it should be generalized. For example, one sentence, say Tommy has a tail, Jimmy has a tail, okay, and then say Susie has a tail. These are all dogs, and all dogs, they have tails. So the knowledge, when you're going to store, instead of storing each individual specific sentences, you can generalize and say that all dogs have tails, right? So knowledge should be stored in such a way, in a generalized way, so that it can be applied for specific cases also, right? Second quality, that this knowledge should also be understood by the people who provide it. Most of the knowledge which program has must be provided by people in terms they understand. Okay, and we should be able to easily modify the knowledge to correct errors and reflect changes into the world. If there are some contradiction, we should be able to remove those contradictions, make new inferences, correct errors, and reflect the changes into the world. And the fourth very important property this knowledge should have is, knowledge should be able to we should be able to use the knowledge even if it is not totally accurate or complete. Now, coming to a very important definition in AI, criteria of success. Assume that we have designed artificially intelligent machine. How do we know that the machine is actually intelligent? Okay, so what we need to know is how much successful the machine is. Now the next question is, how do we decide the criteria of success? Okay, so how do we know that our machine that we have designed, artificially intelligent machine, is successful? So Alan Turing in 1950s, he proposed a Turing test. Okay, recently you must have heard that there is a movie which has come, a Hollywood movie which has come. The name of the movie is Imitation Game, which depicts the life of Alan Turing. So you will come across this Turing test. Now, so as I've told you, this Turing test was proposed by Alan Turing in 1950 for determining if the machine can think. Okay, so this is a setup which Alan Turing used to describe the intelligence of a machine. So Turing said, let there be two closed rooms. Say this is one room and this is another room, and let in this room B, let there be a human being sitting. Okay, and in room C, let there be a computer sitting. Okay, these rooms are closed. Now let there be another room, say A, and let a human interrogator be sitting in this room A. He is basically interrogator or evaluator. Now this human being, he doesn't know who is sitting in these rooms. So he doesn't know whether the person sitting here is it a human or computer. Similarly, he also doesn't know whether the person sitting here is a human or computer. Okay. Now, there is a small slit that is present in the wall that is connecting room A, room B and room C. There is a small slit, and the human interrogator can just write something on a piece of paper and he can pass it onto the slit, through the slit. Then the person or the computer which is here will take that particular paper, okay, read it, understand it, answer, write the answer on it, and then it can again pass the paper back to the evaluator. So this is the setup. Okay. So what is the aim of this evaluator or the human interrogator? Interrogator will be writing the questions on piece of paper, and he will be passing this paper through the slits which are provided respectively for room C and for room B. Okay. Then human or computer who is present in those particular rooms will take the paper, it will read the paper, it will apply the knowledge, process, get the answer, and then it is going to write the answer onto the paper. And after writing the paper, the answer on the paper, this paper will be again sent back through the slit to the evaluator, both sides. Now, Alan Turing said, with this setup, the machine or the computer, okay, present in room C, it's said to be exhibiting intelligence, it's said to be thinking if it is able to befool the evaluator in assuming or in understanding that the person who is answering from here is a human and not a computer. Okay. So in simple words, Alan Turing said in this imitation game or Turing test, he said that machine here is said to be intelligent if it is able to befool the evaluator in understanding that it is a human being and not a computer. Okay. So if human being is convinced that the one who is answering from this room is a human being, if evaluator is able to convince itself, what has happened? This computer has fooled the evaluator in believing that it is a human being. So if computer can do so, then Alan Turing said that computer acts like human and computer is thinking. Okay. So this was a Turing test that was proposed by Alan Turing, a simple Turing test, okay, which was proposed in 1950s for defining the intelligence of machine, okay, thinking ability of machine. Now from this Turing test, so many fields of AI, so many wings of AI later on were developed. Okay, we will soon come across this. Okay. Now, so after designing this particular Turing test, Alan Turing said, now you decide, I am a machine or I am a human, I am a war hero or I am a criminal. Okay, Imitation Game 2014. You can watch this movie which is available. Now there are some criticisms that were faced by the Turing test. Okay, the very first thing, people said that befooling someone is not exhibiting intelligence. Basically the Turing test says that if the machine can fool the human interrogator in believing that it is a human and not machine, we say that that machine is intelligent. But people said that just befooling somebody is not intelligence, actually intelligence. Now the second more important thing that came up is the computers, being a machine, possesses more memory than human beings do. So it should be better at tasks that require memory. Now one thing I would like to tell you that it does not mean that computer has more memory and human beings they have less memory. It is only that human beings cannot fully utilize the memory that we have. We hardly utilize 1, 2, 3% of the memory, okay, of our brain. Whereas the computer can fully, it has algorithms for optimization, so computers can fully utilize the memory that it has. And that's why the people said that computers being machine, they possess more memory. It does not mean computer possess more memory, they can utilize more memory in processing than human beings. So computers should be definitely better at the tasks that require memory. Okay, so if computer can respond fast, and human being will take time to think and remember and so on. Okay, so this is another criticism that was faced by the Turing test. Third, speed of solving a task from computer should be faster than human being. Now this everybody will know and will understand that computer's speed of solving certain problems and human speed in solving some problem, of course there is a difference, right? So speed of solving a task from computer should be faster than that of human being. However, Alan Turing, in proposing this Turing test, nowhere mentioned anything about the speed, right? Now, measuring achievements of AI, is there any more restricted domains through which achievement of AI can be measured? Okay, so the first one is rating based. For example, in chess game, the rating can be based on the rating of the players whom program can beat. For example, let's say I have designed a chess program, and suppose this computer chess program has been playing against a human player whose ranking or rating in the world is number 3. Okay, and suppose the computer is able to defeat this human player with rank 3, then, or rating 3, then after defeat computer program's rating will be definitely higher than that human player. So then computer player will get rating 4, higher rating. Okay, so this is rating based. Second way of measuring achievement is time based. Okay, time based is very simple, comparing the time taken by a human or a computer to complete a task. Okay, so time based. Given a task, if human being takes 10 minutes to accomplish a task, okay, you can say that computer program is more efficient if that computer program, to accomplish the same task, it takes less than 10 minutes, say 2 minutes or 3 minutes. Okay, so this also is another measure of achievement, time based. And third is programs performance based. Okay, now again here compare human performance with computer's performance. So performance based also is another achievement. So now let us see the timeline of evolution of AI. In 1950, Alan Turing proposes the Turing test, and this was the first milestone, you can say. The journey of AI actually began with Turing test, because the output of this Turing test, although there were so many problems or so many questions posed, output of this Turing test actually it opened the door to different areas of AI. For example, machine learning, robot control, natural language processing, as we shall see later on. So in the same year, Isaac Asimov, he proposed the 3 laws of robotics. In the subsequent year, first AI based program was written. So this was the first gear, the AI moment, okay, it came into the first gear. In 1955, the first self-learning game-playing program was written. In the 1959, MIT AI lab was set up. In 1961, the first robot is inducted. Okay, and where it is inducted? Into the GM's General Motors assembly production line. Okay, in the automobile company, in the assembly line, automation was introduced in 1961. In 1963, the first machine learning program was written. Then in 1964, the first demonstration of AI program which understood natural language was successfully carried out. So in 1964, NLP comes into picture. Then in 1965, the first AI-based chatbot, Eliza, was created. This was based on NLP. Okay, I have used this particular chatbot called as Eliza. Okay. In 1969, Stanford Research Institute, it demonstrated the first locomotive and intelligent robot, Shaky. Then in 1974, the first autonomous vehicle is created at the Stanford AI Lab. Okay, the first autonomous vehicle. Then in the same year, 1974, the first rule-based AI expert system for medical diagnosis was created. In 1980, Lisp-based machines are developed and marketed. In 1989, CMU created the first autonomous vehicle using neural network. In the year 1997, this is another landmark where IBM's Deep Blue beats Garry Kasparov at chess. So Deep Blue was a very famous chess playing program which beats Garry Kasparov, world champion, so many number of times at a chess competition. This is another milestone that we reached. In 99, Sony introduces the first artificially intelligent domestic robot, Aibo. Then in the same year, first emotion AI machine demonstrated at MIT AI Lab. In 2004, DARPA introduces the first challenge for autonomous vehicles, and then in the subsequent year, AI-based recommendation engines were developed. In the year 2009, Google bulks driving car, Google Car. In 2010, Narrative Sciences AI demonstrates ability to write reports. This was another milestone. In 2011, IBM's Watson beats Jeopardy champions. This was another game playing milestone. In the same year, personal assistants like Siri, Google Now, and Cortana became mainstream. Okay. In 2015, Elon Musk and others announced that $1 billion is not for profit open source initiative OpenAI to develop friendly AI. Okay. 2016, Google's DeepMind AlphaGo they defeat Go champions, the third game playing milestone. Then in 2016, NVIDIA announces supercomputer for deep learning and AI and so on. Now 2017 onwards is not there, but then you also must have heard about the humanoid, okay, that is being developed recently. As we can see here, he is a famous scientist and mathematician, Stephen Hawking. Let us see what were his views about AI. Success in creating AI would be the biggest event in human history. But then he says, unfortunately, it might also be the last unless we learn how to avoid the risks. Okay. One thing I would like to tell you here is that although we boast about AI, okay, the time may come where the machine is not going to be any longer the slave of humans. It will have its independent thinking capability. So far, even though we have reached a long way since 1950, we are not able to design a machine that is thinking independent. Because whenever we design any robot, whenever we design any machine that is artificially intelligent, initial coding is being carried out by humans. So initial knowledge base is given by humans. So the way the robot thing will be biased. It will be based on the programmer's input, right? So far we are being creating only slaves. But in the recent years, since 2010, 2011, okay, so many breakthroughs have been happening in AI, in the fields of AI, right? You must have heard about Sophie, okay, a humanoid which is creating news these days. Okay, so although success in AI is a big achievement in history and we are going to achieve so many positive things in AI, but if this is not handled in a proper way, okay, if AI is handled in the wrong way, okay, this could actually be a very dangerous to humanity. That is what Stephen Hawking said. Okay, now we all know about these personalities. Okay, let us see what they have to say about AI. As you can see, we have here Mark Zuckerberg, okay, of Facebook. We have Bill Gates, we have Stephen Hawking, we have Elon Musk, we have so many others. These are the technocrats of today's world. Let's see what they have to say about AI. Elon Musk, who is CEO of Tesla and SpaceX, he says AI is a fundamental risk to the existence of human civilization. Again, it don't take it negatively. AI, if it does not go in the right direction, it may lead to a risk to the existence of human civilization. That is what Elon Musk says. Stephen Hawking says, I think the development of full artificial intelligence could spell the end of human race. These are actually the visionaries, so they are visualizing what will happen in far future if we uncontrollably become dependent of machines. Just consider for a moment how much dependent our lives have been on smartphones or on smart machines and so on, right? Bill Gates said many years back, humans should be worried about the threat posed by artificial intelligence. Okay, few years back, if you have heard, Facebook, they stopped their development through AI because the chatbots which they had created, it seems they started communicating among themselves with some newly formed language, and some data was transferred and so on. So there's a big risk. Now this is a positive view. Mark Zuckerberg, a very well-known founder of Facebook, says AI is going to make our lives better. Now how much better, that's a question, because now the data stealing is going on. Google, Facebook, even WhatsApp, in this your data is no longer private. Okay, they may use your data. Okay, and so on. Now this data is not captured by human beings sitting at their end. They are basically bots, software bots or software robots which are going to collect the data. Eric Schmidt, CEO of Alphabet, CEO of Google, says, let's stop freaking out about artificial intelligence. Jeff Bezos, CEO of Amazon, says artificial intelligence development is a renaissance, it is a golden age. Okay, so one thing is very clear, that we have mixed responses. Okay, Amazon, Facebook, they are totally dependent on AI, so they have the positive attitude towards AI, they have positive thought about AI, but at the same time the other visionaries, they have calculated risk involved if AI goes uncontrollable, okay, where machine will be dominating humans, and it has already started doing that. So being the very first lecture, okay, I had to give you overview of these different mixed reactions, because one thing is very obvious. Okay, machines, no matter how good we will design them, the machines, they cannot be omnipotent. Okay, omnipotent is the quality that no human being possess. So if human being is imperfect, okay, are you going to design a 100% perfect machine? No. Okay, let us see branches in AI. What are the different branches in AI? Okay, artificial intelligence, the main branch is machine learning. Okay, then there is another main branch called as natural language processing, or NLP. There is a speech therapy, there are expert systems, then planning, scheduling and optimization. For this also there is a separate branch dedicated for AI. Robotics another branch, and computer vision is another branch. Now machine learning is further divided into deep learning and predictive analytics, data analytics. So that is a sub branch of machine learning. Deep learning, which deals with neural networks and so on, and predictive analytics. Natural language processing, it branches into translation, classification and clustering, and information extraction. These are the sub branches of NLP. Speech, you have speech to text and text to speech. These are the sub branches of speech processing. Expert system, as such, expert system will utilize all this information. Then similarly, planning, scheduling and optimization will utilize all this information. Robotics will also make use of all these branches. Now computer vision, you have something called as image recognition, and you have something called as machine vision. These are the branches of AI. And please note that all these branches came into picture. They were the result of Turing test. When Alan Turing he proposed Turing test or imitation game, the end result was that different branches of AI it came into picture. Okay, and people started researching in these fields, and today each of this sub branch of AI itself is a different subject.